Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're talking about the one and only Turbo Coin, ladies and gentlemen. We are currently at 412 million market cap with 130 million volume, and we have been going down slightly in rank, which is okay. It is okay, guys. It shuffles all the time to 142. Listen, this video is being recorded on the Saturday for Sunday, and just know that having 130 million volume on the slowest days is very, very impressive and should actually be seen as a good sign, right? Obviously, markets always slow down. Fridays is usually, some type of last pump. Saturday, everywhere across the world, we all kind of line up. We're all kind of chilling at that point. Sunday already usually decent movement, especially halfway through Sunday, especially when we get the weekly candle closes. But look, man, things are overall looking really, really solid, right? I want to talk about a few things that some people pointed out, and I'm just going to explain it in this video. And obviously, we'll cover the basics as well. But yeah, look, 412 million volume, 130 million, sorry, 412 million market cap, 130 million volume. Just looking absolutely fantastic. As always, is our beautiful little coin. Right, if we go to the holders, we can actually see that we are, kind of, we actually went up in holders about 50 on, from Friday to Saturday transition. So, which is actually really, really well considering, it's been a slower day or so. So yeah, we love to see that. Probably going to hit 55,000 mid next week. That would be my prediction, or, sometime next week. Look, overall, right, Turbo has been making massive, massive waves in the crypto, sphere the last 3 weeks, right? In the first week, 2 weeks ago, we went up 187% at one point. We closed at 137%. And then the last 2 weeks, we have been slowly rising. Look, there's something very, very, very similar happening to when we actually did almost hit all-time highs and technically did make new all-time highs in when it was relevant, which this is what I'm talking about, this point over here, right? These highs. So we can see that there was a point where Turbo was at its bottoms, at its relevant bottoms at that time, because remember, that was when Turbo was at its lowest in that time between let's just say July and early September. And then we can see we had two small weekly recovery candles, a big pump, right? That was a big, big pump. If we take it from the bottom to the top, right? 82%, we closed at 50%. And then we can see we had something similar over here, right? Two small weekly recovery candles, just like here. And then boom, a big rally, boom, and big rally. And then we started to slow down, right? The next week, we kind of were pushing up, but we failed to kind of go higher. I mean, we did at one point, but overall, it wasn't, anything crazy. And then, we had a weekly manipulation candle where we took out this liquidity over here, right? We filled up some imbalance, and then we just continued to go up higher and higher for the next 2 weeks, creating new relevant highs at that time, right? We went up all the way to 0.0133, right? So that was looking fantastic. And for me, I feel like this something similar is brewing, right? I personally already wanted to see a pullback weekly candle, right? Because there's nothing wrong with a pullback. There's nothing wrong with that because when we look at the context of the market, we know the market is having the green light. It is overall looking to be going up. So I'm not concerned. I'm really not concerned when we see this type of pullback. For me, this isn't like, oh no, it's over. It's more like, oh yay, we're doing this step because we have to so we can go up, right? It's kind of like if you would literally be going upstairs and then you take a break. It's just think about it like that. Like the pullback is more like a break to then, so then you can continue going upstairs while you're already more recovered and you feel more energy. That is the same thing. And the reason why I mentioned stairs is because the markets kind of move like in stairs for the most part, right? If we go up like here, then we have some kind of pullback, right? Which is what we consider our break. And then, right, we get well rested by having a pullback. Boom, we are able to continue to go up. And I mean, while I'm on this, I mean, that's just literally how the markets work, right? If you treat the markets like a human, right? A human can't be working 24/7. They're going to burn out. There, things are going to happen bad, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, even spiritually, they might just, combust. But that is just the reality, right? we as humans also have to take breaks. Sometimes we have to go back. Sometimes we have to just relax in order to go forward. And that is the same thing with the markets. The markets can't just be going up, 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 right? It is, under certain circumstances and context that we usually have that type of rally, right? This rally we had for the 2 days where we went up a lot, that was under certain context where, hey, we got the green light from Bitcoin, we started to reverse, and then we had whales slam, right? Slam past this zone because this was a big resistance, right? This area over here, this was a big support at one point, but when we go below it, it turned into a resistance. So it went from our friend to our enemy because we had to face it. And the whales just absolutely smashed it. I mean, the whales absolutely smashed it. And yeah, I mean, once we kind of got past that point, that's when we start to slow down, which, like I said, makes sense. I still expect a little bit of a pullback, right? I still do. These candles, to me, are extremely weak. Now, technically, right? Technically, there is no indication yet. Okay, there is no indication. So for me, it's something about where I'm just speculating there would be some type of pullback because for the most part, the bullish momentum has been looking really, really weak the last week or so, right? We can see we are on the daily candles. We can see, look how small this green candle is, right? Look how small this green candle is. Look how, small selling pressure, but it's very small. And then we had these pumps recently, which was mainly thanks to Ethereum going nuclear. And of course, Bitcoin going up a little bit too, right? But overall, we can see just from the eye test that, hey, we are starting to slow down at a decent rate, right? And that's kind of what happened here, just not as bad. Where we start to slow down, right? The candles start to kind of just, become smaller and smaller. Boom, pull back for a couple days, but the next week we just absolutely, recovered and slammed up, right? So that is what I personally expect. However, once again, in terms of pure technical analysis, nothing is indicating that, okay? Nothing is indicating that. We have these lows over here. We have these lows over here. We have these lows over here. And why am I pointing out these lows? Well, ladies and gentlemen, because the lows are consistently going higher and higher, right? They are consistently going higher and higher. And until I see, right, a break from this kind of trend line, more or less, right? Because we also have some wicks here, right? If we were to show from this trend line, boom, I take away the wicks. And until I see us starting to go below, in my opinion, below these lows of 0.0052 is when that is more bearish, right? If we break this, go down, then we go up, but then we fail to create a higher high than this high, let's say. Sorry, I'm going to just redraw this just so it's easy, right? We have the trend line. We have the trend line. We have a high. We have these lows over here, right? So if we were to start going down and then we start failing, right? Especially if we go below here, if we go down all the way down here, boom, right? We would create a lower low compared to this low here. And then when we start going up and we start failing, then we would create a lower high compared to this one, giving us that bearish structure, which means most likely we would pull back somewhere down to maybe even this zone over here of 0.004, right? Right, that would be at this current moment, a 30% retracement, which is kind of big, but that would also have to, that would require Bitcoin to kind of just break out from its range, right? That is a thing. We're mainly looking at Bitcoin because Bitcoin is slowing down a decent amount as well, right? Let's not get it twisted. It looks kind of similar to this, right? Where it's slowing down. There might be some kind of pullback, right? If we get a pullback even to 98, 99K possibly, right? That is 5%. Now, I don't think Turbo would drop 30%, but like I said, if we did for some reason end up wanting to range overall, right? Let's say the markets did slow down and we wanted to range. Let's just say we went up here, down here, like this, before we finally broke out, right? I'm just saying the bigger picture. Then, of course, if we have some type of drop from here to here, that would be 15%. Maybe one final manipulation, which obviously Turbo dropping 35%, Bitcoin drops 15%, would not, it's not impossible, right? It's actually very, very likely. But that is just a scenario. At this current moment, there's nothing indicating that that is necessarily going to be the play, right? We are in the relevant range of 98K to 108K for Bitcoin. So this range, this bottom range below 98K is currently invalid. It is invalid until we start seeing some type of reversal signs. But as of right now, we are kind of holding decently strong. And we're just ranging between 98 and 108K at this moment. We are halfway through, and I believe we will continue to push up, generally speaking, right? We will probably start slowing down once we get to this zone over here. And that's when, altcoins can see a little bit of a dip. Also, want to talk about this in the turbo video, right? Bitcoin dominance is absolutely dropping, which we talked about a couple of days ago already on the Discord. So highly recommend joining the community, right? We can see Bitcoin dominance start to drop. We called it out. It's most likely going to end up at 62%, could go even down to 16.5%. And the reason why that is important is, that's also a big reason why altcoins are starting to see big pumps, right? Some coins are up 3%, 5%, 10%, 10%, even upwards of 35%, depending on the coin today, because Bitcoin dominance is absolutely getting hammered. But I still do not believe that this is the beginning of altcoin season. I just believe this is a pullback so we can continue to go higher to our zone, like we've been talking about for months, roughly the 70% before the real altcoin season starts. And obviously something like Turbo will see very nice gains. But yeah, look, this is the current zone right now, right? This is what we're dealing with. As of right now, we have not broken structure, so there is no reason to take, for example, any sells or think, we are going to be bearish for just even a week or so, right? Everything is still very bullish. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.